Welcome back to Big Mouth and welcome to the Big Mouth Daily. Remember, you can follow me, tag me, speak to me over on Twitter at Movies TV Mad. So welcome to the Big Mouth Daily. Yes, I'm incredibly excited that yesterday Andy Muschietti on his Instagram posted the brand new Flash logo and the music. It was awesome. And he said, day one, let's go. Very, very exciting. I think Andy knows how to pump up people's excitement. I think it's awesome. Sasha Calle, who's playing Supergirl, said, let's go. Really excited. Sasha's going to be playing Supergirl, of course, and I can't wait to see her in her costume. Hopefully we can get a picture on Andy's Instagram very soon. I've certainly sent him a message asking him for one. I hope he posts every day because this is so exciting. So, the Flash movie logo revealed in filming announcement video. The new logo for the Flash movie has been revealed in a video announcing that production on the Ezra Miller-led film has officially begun. This is by Rick Stevenson of Screen Rant. The Flash movie has announced the official start of filming in a new video, which has also revealed the hero's new logo. The film will continue the story of DCEU, with Ezra Miller's Barry Allen as its centre, along with supporting casts including Sasha Calle as Supergirl, Kiersey Clemons as Iris West, Ben Affleck as and Michael Keaton as two different versions of Batman, and Maribel Verdú and Ron Livingston as Barry's parents. The Flash is currently scheduled for release on November the 4th, 2022. According to what's been announced so far, it looks like The Flash will take significant inspiration from the famous Flashpoint comic art, which saw Barry attempting to travel through time to stop his mother's murder. Affleck will be reprising his role as the main DCEU version of Bruce Wayne, while Keaton will step back into the role for the first time in decades as an older Batman. From an alternate timeline, The Flash will be the first theatrical crossover film in the DCEU since the original Justice League was released in 2017. A new promo video from Warner Bros. Pictures has unveiled The Flash's new logo and a triumphant music theme, announcing that production on the film has officially begun. The logo itself seems to be a close-up of Barry's iconic red suit, which will be getting a redesign in The Flash from its Justice League version. Excited about that as well. Watch the new logo revealed below. We've already seen that, and I don't want to show it to you with the music and everything in case YouTube take my video down. With interest in the DCEU recently rejuvenated by the success of Zack Snyder's Justice League, The Flash could be the start of an exciting new chapter for the franchise. The changes made to Barry Allen's character in the Snyder Cut have been praised by both fans and critics, renewing excitement for Miller's return. The introduction of Supergirl is promising as well, especially given the character's recent surge in popularity from our Arrowverse series on the CW. Really? Look, Supergirl has always been a popular character. I don't think that the excitement for Sasha Calle's Supergirl has anything to do with her Arrowverse iteration. It's a shame that the potential in that character wasn't realised. I saw a video the other day that pretty much summed the whole thing up. And I don't know much about Supergirl in the comics, but this video really taught me a lot, that this is such a great character who suffers with mental health, who doesn't at first like humanity, likes to spend time alone. Why couldn't they have done that? Because their alt-left narrative and agenda wouldn't let them. And what a shame. But we've got a brand new iteration of Supergirl in the DCEU, and I couldn't be more excited. Sasha Calle is a great talent. She's been doing daytime drama for many years. She's a great actor. Fact. End of story. Ray Fisher's Cyborg was initially intended to appear in The Flash, but the character has since been cut following Fisher's allegations of racist discrimination and overall misconduct against Warner Bros. And DC Films' Fisher's exclusion has been derided by many, both because of its apparent use as a retaliation tactic against the star and because of the praise he's received for his stellar performance in Zack Snyder's Justice League. An online movement to restore Cyborg's role in The Flash has gained some traction, but it unfortunately seems unlikely to manifest now that filming has officially begun. Right, let's talk about Cyborg. Let's talk about Ray Fisher, because again, he quote-tweeted the logo, Ray Fisher, saying, "If only Walter Hamada could apologise Well, let's go into this. First of all, the reason he's cut from the movie isn't because of any retaliation. Let's be balanced about this. I don't like what happened in 2017. I don't like how Zack Snyder was treated and how they took away his movie from him and us. I don't like that. I support release the Snyder Cut. I support restore the Snyder Cut, but I'm also a balanced human being with quite a high intellect. First of all, Ray Fisher said he would never work under any production with Walter Hamada involved. What do you expect them to do? Secondly, Ray Fisher wants an apology from Walter Hamada. Why? You do understand, Ray, as I quote tweeted him yesterday, that anything that he said to you, basically he was copying and pasting from what his overlords at Warner Brothers told him to say to you. He's not the president of Warner Brothers. He's the president of DC Films. Big difference. Walter Hamada doesn't owe you an apology, Ray. You owe Walter Hamada an apology for bringing him into this when it had nothing to do with him in the first place. Anyway, we will talk about my side, my fandom, or the fandom I'm a part of, the Snyderverse fandom being very negative about the logo and the music. And by the way, let me just say something. Do you think filming is going to cease because you say negative stuff? Do you think this changes anything? Or wouldn't it be good if Restore the Snyderverse trended and Flash didn't? It doesn't matter. It's irrelevant, right? We're going to talk about Michael Keaton's involvement very shortly because Screen Rant did a write-up about that as well. I'm going to read it out and discuss that. Listen, I'm so excited. I'm excited for the next 5 movies, as I spoke about yesterday, right? The DCEU has got a great lineup, whether you want to accept that or not. I can fight to restore the Snyderverse and still be excited for these movies. Again, people saying, if you support the Central Universe, the WB plan, the Hamadaverse, you can't support Restore the Snyderverse. How very dare you? How dare you tell me what I can do? I can do both. I'm a Zack Snyder fan, but basically, I'm more of a DC fan, right? So I love Zack's 3 DC movies, but I'm not going to sacrifice my enjoyment with other DC content because I support Zack Snyder. No. It's not either or. I'm fed up with this either or generation. I love Zack's movies. I love DC. And I'm really excited for these upcoming movies coming up. And just seeing Andy posting that yesterday on Instagram and all Warner Brothers social media posting it, I thought it was very, very exciting. And I'm so pumped to see this movie. Wasn't it nice for Screen Rant to talk about the launch of the shooting of the Flash movie by bringing the Ray Fisher situation into it? Well, you could have been a bit more positive about it. And, bringing in that situation doesn't really change anything. But I think there was a bit of an agenda there. I'm going to read you a tweet from one of my fellow Snyderverse fans. I'm not going to tell you his name, but I'm just going to tell you what he said. I like this person, by the way, and I follow him. I think he's got great comic book knowledge, very passionate. But I'm going to tell you what he said. No Cyborg. Recast Henry Allen. YouTuber getting a role. I don't know who the YouTuber is, by the way. Yellow lightning instead of blue. Ugly weed and Flash sounding theme. Nostalgia Batman, maybe, if he ever bothered to read the script. Supergirl in a Flash movie instead of a Superman movie because reasons. I'm good. So let's take this apart, right? No Cyborg. That's not the company's fault. That's Ray Fisher's fault, right? He could have been involved in this. He could have separated his fight for justice and his career, but he didn't want to do that, right? Because he has an agenda himself. So it's not the studio's fault. Recast Henry Allen, right? He's got scheduling conflicts. Nobody's fault. Had to be done. It's done. Really good actor in his place. We go. Right, recasts have been going on in movie franchises for many years. Remember Richard Harris being obviously recast because he died. So in the Harry Potter franchise, YouTuber getting a role. Well, at the end of the day, I don't know what YouTuber that is, but it doesn't matter. It won't spoil my enjoyment of the film. Yellow lightning instead of blue, right? You've just seen a logo. It means nothing. But even if there is yellow lightning instead of blue, I couldn't give a shit. Anyway, it looked good. The logo and the lightning looked awesome. Ugly weed and Flash sounding theme. Well, I'm sure Benjamin, who is doing the music, the same Benjamin, because I can't pronounce his surname, who did the Shazam music, who did great music on Shazam, will be really happy that you're putting his music down. Anyway, Nostalgia Batman. Wait a minute, if we get a Batfleck series, isn't that a nostalgic Batman again? Just thinking about it. But wait, you're a supporter of the Snyderverse, as I am. Batfleck's in this. So is Batfleck wrong for being in this movie? You've got to make your minds up, haven't you? This is the problem. So if he ever bothered to read the script, yes, he's read the script, yes. What that quote you're talking about was said many, many months ago. Anyway, Supergirl in a Flash movie instead of a Superman movie because reasons. Wait a minute. So Supergirl can't be in a Flash movie now. They've got to introduce her, haven't they? This is the beginning of their strategy, of what they're attempting to do to fix things, because people who originally launched the DCEU all wanted things like children their own ways. They couldn't work like a team. At the MCU, it's not just about Feige. Feige works as a team. Feige is a team, everyone pulling in the right direction. People don't care about doing their own things because they want the MCU to be the best that it can be. And the only way that can happen, as it does, and as it is, and we'll be talking about the Shang-Chi trailer later on this show as well, but that's the difference. So we had a director who wanted to do things his way, love him dearly, but he just wanted to do things his way, didn't want to compromise at all. The studio didn't want to compromise with the director. It was a mess, right? We've now got new leadership, we've got a new head of DC Films, and they're doing this, and I'm going to give it a chance, right? I'm good. In other words, this guy basically is saying that he's not going to be watching any of this. You'll be watching it, you just never admit it. You'll watch it and say it's crap, even if it's great. That's the problem, isn't it? It's like the critics, isn't it, when they slaughter something just because it's like the critics who bullied Zack Snyder. It's the same thing. It's agendas getting in the way of movie enjoyment. This is the damaging aspect and element of social media. Anyway, let's talk about something positive. This is by Molly Freeman of Screen Rant. Michael Keaton confirmed to play Batman in the Flash movie, and I couldn't be any happier. Michael Keaton's return as Batman in the Flash movie is confirmed by the actor's talent agency as filming on the DC blockbuster gets underway. Michael Keaton's return as Batman in the Flash movie is confirmed by the actor's talent agency as filming on the DC blockbuster gets underway. Last year, it was originally reported that Keaton was in talks to return as Batman for the Flash film, seemingly indicating the DC movie would explore the multiverse. Director Andy Muschietti confirmed as much last summer when he explained the Flash movie will unify the various DC film universes. You see, this is what's great. Let's say that again. It will unify the various DC film universes. Every universe you've seen that's nothing to do with the DCEU will be unified into one franchise. That's fucking genius, my friends. How can you not want that? Anyway, where are we? However, since the initial reports of his casting, Keaton has cast doubt on his return as Bruce Wayne, a role he played in 1989's Batman and 92's Batman Returns, making it unclear whether those talks fell through. Even still, pre-production on The Flash has moved forward with the film bringing together its main cast to join lead Ezra Miller, who plays Barry Allen, a.k.a. The Flash. Kiersey Clemons is on board to play Iris West, a role she was meant to originate in Justice League before her scenes were removed from the theatrical cut. They've since been included in Zack Snyder's Justice League. Additionally, Ron Livingston will replace Billy Crudup as Barry's father, Henry, and Sasha Calle joins the DCEU as Supergirl. In addition to Keaton, it was also reported last year that Ben Affleck is back as the DCEU incarnation of the Batman. Then today it was announced the Flash movie has started filming, and on the heels of this news, it has been confirmed Keaton will in fact be back as Bruce Wayne. The Wrap is reporting that Keaton's talent agency, ICM Partners, has confirmed the actor will appear in the Flash movie. No other details about his role were confirmed, like how much of the film he'll be in, or even whether he'll suit up as Batman. They're not going to tell you stuff like that, are they? Or only appear as Bruce Wayne. Still, since the actor was casting doubt on his Batman return as recently as March, this serves as confirmation Keaton was able to reach a deal with Warner Brothers and DC Films to reprise his role. It's unclear whether Keaton's deal was only recently hammered out, or if the actor was playing coy when speaking about his Batman return in March, playing coy. At the behest of the studio, it seemed the Flash movie concept art featuring Batman fighting alongside Miller's Barry Allen all but confirmed Keaton's return. So it doesn't appear Warner Brothers or DC was trying to keep his role a secret. Elsewhere in the realm of comic book movie returns, Sony and Marvel have categorically denied former Peter Parker actor Toby... What? Why are you talking about this? Why are you talking about this in a Keaton article anyway? Elsewhere in the realm of comic book movie returns, Sony and Marvel have categorically denied former Peter Parker actors Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield will appear in Spider-Man No Way Home, despite reports of their involvement. But while Warner Brothers hasn't confirmed Michael Keaton's Batman return, they're not outright denying it either. Now that Keaton's publicist has confirmed his Flash movie role, though, that should put any confusion to rest. Yes, his agency has said he's in it, so he's in it. He was always going to be in it. Anyway, in terms of what to expect from Keaton's return as Batman in the Flash movie, that's less clear. Previous reports have indicated Keaton will suit up as Batman in the Flash movie and serve as a mentor for Barry, which is supported by the concept art revealed at DC Fandom last summer. Additionally, reported story details revealed the Flash movie would pick up with Keaton's Batman after the events of 92's returned and will retcon the latter two movies set in that continuity, 95's Batman Forever, 97's Batman and Robin. It's unclear why Barry would need Keaton's Batman to be a mentor. Oh my God, they're so thick. When Affleck's Bruce already exists, you know damn fucking well what they're doing here. I'll explain it in a minute. While Ben Affleck's Batman and Bruce Wayne already exist in the DCEU, though perhaps something will happen to Affleck's Batman, Still, it will be exciting to see Keaton return as Batman, reprising one of his most iconic roles for the first time in 30 years. More about how Keaton's Batman fits into the Flash movie will no doubt be revealed as filming commences. That is one of the most shit articles I've ever read. Did I say Molly Freeman, normally a good journalist? No, I didn't like that Molly at all. It was cheap and lazy. Let me clarify what she was saying. Either I didn't read it properly at first or I didn't understand it properly. But basically, Molly was trying to compare Sony Marvel denying that Maguire and Andrew Garfield are in Spider-Man No Way Home. They're in it. They're definitely in it. I can tell you that now. Never mind. We're talking about the DCEU, right? And so the reason, Molly, that Keaton is there and his Batman's there, obviously they want to unify all these different DC franchises and bring them into the DCEU because that's an exciting thing to do. But Bruce Wayne, Keaton's Bruce Wayne Batman, is literally replacing the Thomas Wayne element in Flashpoint. In Flashpoint, Barry creates his new universe because he brings his mum back, and what happens is that Bruce Wayne was murdered in the alleyway and Bruce's parents survived instead of Bruce, and Thomas Wayne becomes a darker, grittier Batman, and not a happy Batman, a really dark Batman. And we were hoping to see Jeremy Dean, is it Jeremy Dean Morgan? Is it Dean? No, I can't remember his name properly, but Jeremy Dean Morgan played Thomas Wayne in the opening credits of BVS, if we remember. Well, that role's been replaced now by Michael Keaton's Batman. So basically, new darker universe, right? Originally, in the comics, in the Flashpoint graphic novel, it's Thomas Wayne's Batman who is there, who's a mentor. Instead of him, it's Michael Keaton's Batman who's a mentor. It's not difficult to understand now, is it, Molly? And basically, when Barry changes things change. So there's no Superman, there's no Cavill Superman anymore, there's no Batfleck anymore, there's no Gadot Wonder Woman anymore, Momoa Aquaman. Everything's changed. Everything's different in this universe. It's darker. The Amazonians and the Atlanteans are at war. I don't know if this is what they're going to do in this movie. It will be interesting how they change things from the graphic novel. But I'm excited and I'm extremely happy that Michael Keaton's Batman is involved in this film. Unifying all these kind of previous DC universes is genius from Walter Hamada. I think it's great. I think the DCEU is in great hands. I'm unhappy with what happened with the inception of the DCEU. I'm unhappy that Zack Snyder couldn't do his arc. I still want to see that. I still want to restore the Snyderverse. But that doesn't mean I'm going to hate on something that there's no reason to hate. I'm excited by what's happening here. And let's just see the film. Let's judge the film and Andy Muschietti and Walter Hamada and Jim Lee and Toby Emmerich on the merits of their product. Instead of screaming and shouting like little children all the time, right? Another analogy from you, right? You want something from someone. You go into a shopkeeper, right? You say, right, 20 cigarettes, please. You bastard, you prick. Get out of my shop. This is literally what some of us are doing to Warner Brothers. Restore the Snyderverse. We hate you, WB. Really? 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 Now it's time to go over from the DCEU to the MCU. This is why we changed the title of the Daily Show, the Big Mouth Daily, so we can talk about it all. And I'm enjoying doing that for all different gigs from all different likes. We don't want to represent just one fandom because that's boring, although I love all fandoms at the end of the day. And I'm doing this for you and for me because I'm like you at the end of the day. I'm not special. My word isn't higher than yours. My truth isn't universal. It's just my truth. So come here, comment down below constructively. We can all be mates, right? And share the channel. Subscribe to the channel if you like what you see, please. And I apologise that I'm just using a basic camera that's built into my laptop and a basic microphone. Get over it. We can still have a good time, right? Anyway, right, yesterday they released the poster and the trailer for Shang-Chi and the Ten Rings. The title's something along those lines. Anyway, I really enjoyed this trailer. I've been excited for this film for a very long time. I'm very excited for the Asian representation. I think that's very important. I think Asian people are not represented in entertainment enough. I think we need to represent people of colour, but we also need to represent other minorities. It can't just be about black people. I want black people to be represented. I want their stories and I want to hear black voices, but I want to hear Asian voices. I want to hear Greek Cypriot voices. I think we live in a cosmopolitan world. We live in a cosmopolitan America, UK, and everyone, as many people as possible's voices need to be heard. But it can't just be about inclusion and representation. It's got to be about a good story. And the character of Shang-Chi is a great character. I don't know if you've ever read him in the comics before, but he's pretty awesome. And I really like this trailer. I like that we're in this new kind of realm of Asian representation. I'm so happy we're going to see some proper martial arts. The martial arts are fantastic. And by the way, let me just talk about Sam Liu. Sam Liu is a freaking gentleman. He really is. He even hashtagged release the Snyder Cut back in the day. So he's a gentleman. I'm happy he's got this role. He's great. As I say, the martial arts, the action in this trailer are really awesome. I expect this film to be successful. The trailer's great. So when we first see this character, he's a busboy, but we see his dad, and his dad's not impressed with him. His dad basically wants him. He says, I gave you 10 years to live your life, and this is what you've done with it. You've wasted it, basically. But to the is the character called Shang-Chi? I can't even remember right, what the character's actual name is. Is he actually called Shang-Chi? I read the comics years ago, so you have to excuse me. But anyway, let's call him Shang-Chi anyway. So Shang-Chi's just living an ordinary life, but that's not good enough for his father. So I don't know what goes down, and this is how this adventure starts. But it's going to be interesting as well, actually, if we get any proper crossovers from other MCU worlds and movies and things like that. Look, MCU movies normally do have crossovers, but if we go back to the Doctor Strange origin movie, I can't remember. Was there anyone was there any cameos or anything in that movie? I can't remember now. Comment down below and remind me. It's been a long time since I saw that film. But we could get a film that just doesn't cameo anyone. We could get a post-credit scene with some hints and teases like Kevin Feige normally does. It would be totally fine with me if this is just a self-contained film. The problem is the MCU stan now wants to see cameos. He wants to see post-credit teases and things like that. This was the problem with WandaVision. WandaVision didn't have a bad finale. WandaVision wasn't a bad show. I think WandaVision was an excellent show. I think WandaVision is probably slightly better than Falcon and the Winter Soldier. But I think because it didn't have the relevant cameos they wanted and a satisfactory post-credit scene from their points of view, they called the whole thing crap. And I don't think you can do that. So I was disappointed in the reaction from WandaVision. So I'm fine with no kind of crossovers or cameos. I suspect there will be something. But I'm really looking forward to this film. This was a really strong trailer. I wouldn't say it's the best piece of marketing I've ever seen. What Marvel actually do, they're quite honest in their marketing and say, listen, this is what we're going to give you. We can't show you anything else. We're not going to lie to you. This is about Shang-Chi. Do you like martial arts? Do you like this character? Have you read this character? If you haven't, get to know him. So he's going to be a new member of the new Avengers. What we're seeing here, these new introductions, are all part. This is about Phase 4. These are about the new Avengers. I It wouldn't surprise me if we don't actually see an Avengers movie within Phase 4. We don't get an Avengers movie till Phase 5. Has Kevin Feige already said that? I'm not sure. But I can see that they're going to form them in this phase. Just remember how they did it in Phase 1. Form all these characters, bring the new kind of element of characters together. Then in Phase 5, give us the Avengers. You know, it's really funny because it looks like the MCU is just going to run and run after we die for the next generation and the next generation. And that's a pretty awesome thing. So I really, really like the trailer. I'm giving it 9.5 out of 10, and I can't wait to see this film. As much of a big year this is for the DCEU, it's been massive with Zack Snyder's Justice League Snyder Cut. By the way, finally able to purchase it on Prime Video. Thank FUCK for that. I should have been able to do that from day one, but they didn't let me. Anyway, I'm happy. All I want now, end of May, is the Blu-ray 4K. And, you know, HBO Max, you can stick it, because I don't need to have you in my country now. I've got the film that I wanted you for all along. Anyway, more on the MCU. Valentina's impact on MCU teased by Falcon and Winter Soldier producer. Nate Moore teases that Valentina will have a major impact on the MCU moving forward, and her impact will be felt sooner rather than later. The Falcon and the Winter Soldier producer teases that Valentina Allegra de Fontaine will have a major impact on the MCU, introduced in the 5th episode of The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, titled Truth. Valentina Allegra de Fontaine is played by Emmy-winning actress Julia Louis-Dreyfus. Her scene is brief but vital as she talks to John Walker after he has been stripped of his rank and title as Captain America. And the scene ends with her telling Walker to pick up the phone when she calls him, hinting that she has plans for him beyond just this series. So that's exciting. Valentina was created by writer and artist Jim Steranko in Strange Tales 159 as a supporting character and love interest to Nick Fury. In the 2009 Secret Warriors comic, she becomes the new Madame Hydra and eventually is revealed to have turned on S.H.I.E.L.D. and Hydra. The character was previously adapted into live action in the 1998 television movie Nick Fury, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., played by Lisa Rinna. The character's appearance in The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, alongside the casting of Julia Louis-Dreyfus in the role, implies Marvel has big plans for the character, with the cameo even teased by producers as being someone who they hope to see interact with Thor. Wow. The Falcon and the Winter Soldier producer Nate Moore teased that Valentina will be making an impact on the MCU pretty soon. He says it is exciting to have her in the show and the wider MCU at large. The character's actions should be having an impact not just the Falcon and the Winter Soldier, but other shows and films in the MCU, Moore said. Having a character like Valentina in the show and actually in the MCU is really interesting because I think she'll be making more waves sooner rather than later. So that's exciting. It looks like she's a bit of an Amanda Waller and she's trying to build this supervillain team or something like this. So that's going to be interesting. It was previously reported that Valentina was going to make her first appearance in Black Widow, but due to COVID-19 pandemic causing a delay to the MCU and her scheduled first appearance, it got reshuffled. No word yet on if she will still appear in Black Widow. Yet, given Valentina's Russian roots in the comics, there is a good chance she will appear. The character's close comic ties to Nick Fury could mean she turns up in Secret Invasion. That's what I'm thinking as well, and that would be awesome. Not to mention other grounded MCU series like Armor Wars and Hawkeye. Her recruitment of John Walker suggests a rumour that the MCU would be introducing the Thunderbolts, with villains like Tim Roth's Abomination set to return in She-Hulk. You know what? A lot of people don't like the fact that they used the Incredible Hulk movie as canon, but I'm happy. And Tim Roth is an amazing actor, so I'm really happy he's returning in She-Hulk. And new villains introduced in properties like Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. That's the title. It appears Valentina could be recruiting various villains for a team of her own. Phase 1 was about assembling the Avengers. Phase 4 could be about introducing dark inversion of the team. Interesting. The Falcon and the Winter Soldier could be laying the groundwork for Valentina to be the next overacting villain of the MCU. What unites the various Phase 4 stories? That's very, very interesting. The source for that is Nate Moore, of course, the showrunner of Falcon and the Winter Soldier. I think this is brilliant. I think Julia Louis-Dreyfus has got great quality. Again, by Feige, it's great casting. And if this is the way Phase 4 is going, I couldn't be more excited and happier. Staying in the Marvel Universe, there's a bit of controversy. Spider-Verse producer defends Sony's Avi Arad after Spider-Man Backlash. By the way, Avi is a great guy and a great creative and a great producer. I don't know what their fucking problem is, so let's find out. By Nicholas Graff, Spider-Verse producer Phil Lord took to Twitter to defend Avi Arad after fans blamed the producer for the missteps of the MCU's Spider-Man movies. After the backlash from fans over Sony's Avi Arad's involvement in MCU's Spider-Man Homecoming, Spider-Man Far From Home, and Spider-Man No Way Home films, one of the producers of Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse spoke out to defend his colleague. By the way, before we read all of this, can I just say something? How are you blaming Avi for basically the MCU Spider-Man trilogy? How can you blame him for that, right? Are you saying Kevin Feige creatively has nothing to do with this? He's got mostly of what's to do with this. He's had free reign creatively. Because surely to God, I can't believe that Avi did this. I think elements of, the MCU Spider-Man, you could. But then again, I have to look at the flip side of this, right? Because in Civil War, Spider-Man was represented really well. And I was really excited for Tom Holland's Spider-Man. Then all of a sudden we got these movies and they went down a different kind of direction. Maybe they're right. Maybe Kevin Feige hasn't had as much creative control and they watered them down too much. So maybe the fans have got a point. But anyway, I do like Avi. So Arad is still producing Marvel Spider-Man content at Sony with productions like Venom 2 and Morbius. He's not as involved with the MCU films since the most recent negotiations in 2019. The question many fans have been asking is whether that was due to some of the alleged choices he made that have been criticising of late. And Arad has been producing Marvel and Spider-Man content for decades. This is true, and he was producing Spider-Man live action with the Raimi movies, which were great, right? As one of the founders of Marvel Studios, Arad was a large part of the early years of Marvel's live action films. One of the founders of Marvel Studios. So how can you... Oh, the man's great. The man's great. Though he left the studio right before the official MCU launch. Okay, fair enough. Fans have been reacting to a story that blames Arad for many controversial choices the MCU Spider-Man franchise has made, including not mentioning the death of Uncle Ben, that's a great point, and removing a scene with Captain America from Spider-Man Homecoming. Yeah, that was bad. Seeing the fan outcry about the influence Arad had on the MCU Spider-Man films, Into the Spider-Verse producer Phil Lord took to Twitter to speak on the man's behalf. Lord claimed that Arad's enthusiasm and encouragement and intelligence played a significant role in the making of Into the Spider-Verse, a much better movie than it would have been without the man's assistance. Lord finishes his post with the statement that Arad is a true believer, harkening back to the words of Marvel legend Stan Lee himself to promote the beleaguered producer. So let's read the post. This is Phil Lord. Avi was a huge part of Spider-Verse, and his enthusiasm and encouragement and intelligence made our movie much better than it otherwise would have been. He is a true believer. So no one forced Lord to say that, or maybe they did force him to say that, who knows. Lord has been part of several big Hollywood projects and has seen his share of drama with productions over the years. In 2017, while working with his directing partner Christopher Miller on Solo, a Star Wars story, the duo left the project due to creative differences with Lucasfilm. The resulting film suffered from mixed reviews from fans and critics. Before that, the pair had directed several box office hits without incident, including Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs, 21 Jump Street and 22 Jump Street, and the Lego Movie. The Lego Movie is great, by the way. But they were also involved originally, or quite a while back, in the Flash movie that's being directed and co-written by Andy Muschietti right now as well. Although that movie has had so many different directors at one time and the other, they didn't really know which way to go with it until Walter Hamada came on board and steadied the ship. So Lord and Miller are interesting. They work in a certain way. They don't really like scripts. They like to just come up with stuff. So they're great for actors. I think actors would love, Lord and Miller. But yeah, I think they're a bit like Zack Snyder. They're a bit problematic for studios. Loved by the artists, but not so much by the studios. Different projects require different handling, and that might be the case with Arad's involvement with a live-action MCU Spider-Man and Sony's animated Into the Spider-Verse with the MCU films. There are many spinning plates, and while Arad may be getting the blame for some of these decisions, it seems likely everyone involved was coming up with the solutions that seemed like the best ideas for the film at the time. Compromises that would satisfy what Sony required and what the MCU wanted from the character. Unfortunately, Arad has a poor history with Spider-Man films. In particular, in the past, he pushed Venom as an extra villain in Sam Raimi's Spider-Man 3. Oh dear, yeah. All right, I'm taking some of the defending I did of him now, and has been accused of blocking Andrew Garfield's Amazing Spider-Man films from crossing over with the MCU. So very, very interesting. And did he leave Marvel Studios before they started launching because he fell out with Kevin Feige? So Avery doesn't look good there, I must admit, but I don't know him. We're not part of these processes, but everything seems to get leaked out, whether you're a DC fan or a Marvel fan these days. But, you know, forcing... It's a bit like Jeff Johns allegedly forcing Black Manta into the Aquaman movie. But I actually think Black Manta was great in Aquaman, and I enjoyed seeing him. So I don't have a problem. In terms of Venom in Spider-Man 3, I didn't mind Spider-Man 3. I don't think he's as good as Spider-Man and Spider-Man 2. And I don't mind Venom in it. I think they did a good job with the Venom thing. But I just think you can tell Spider-Man 3 had too many voices in it. And that's why it became problematic for a lot of the audience. And basically what you want from the MCU is that Kevin Feige is left alone to do his thing. When Kevin Feige is left alone to do his thing, these things work out. Apart from Professor Hulk. I don't know what he's thinking of there. But mostly he gets more things right than he gets wrong. So we'll see how... Now, obviously, this is all kicked off as well, because a lot of people are not happy that Doc Ock, a.k.a. Alfred Molina, is returning. We pretty much know that Garfield and Maguire are returning as their versions of Spider-Man. A lot of people are triggered by this. Personally, I think it's awesome, and I can't wait to see it. Now back to the DCEU. Both Jon Stewart and Kilowog originally visited Batman at the end of Justice League. What? Why didn't we get this? Oh my God. Anyway, Zack Snyder has revealed that his original Justice League plan included an ending scene with both Jon Stewart and Kilowog met with Bruce Wayne by Rick Stevenson. Now, we've heard some of this before, but this is interesting. I mean, to cut a long story short, the studio wanted to do their own thing. They didn't want Zack using these characters, but it's a shame, you know, because, I don't know, we're getting Flashpoint anyway, so these things... Anyway, let's just read the article. The original ending to Zack Snyder's Justice League saw both Jon Stewart and Kilowog meeting with Bruce Wayne, according to the director himself. Snyder's cut still includes some references to the Green Lantern Corps, including a lantern in the Darkseid Century history lesson sequence, but the DCEU still has yet to get a proper Green Lantern story. If Snyder's original plan had gone through, it sounds like the end of Justice League would have set up with two different characters. After the 2011 Green Lantern movie failed to meet critical and commercial expectations, the character was temporarily shelved by Warner Brothers from the live-action space. The early DCEU decided to focus on Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, Aquaman, Flash and Cyborg as its primary heroes, with the potential of reintroducing Green Lantern later in the series, however. Due to the failure of 2017's Justice League and the DCEU's subsequent restructuring, those plans never materialised. What do you think? If you could have Kilowog and Jon Stewart as part of the Justice League, who would you take out? Or would you have just added them in along with the others? Would it have been an oversaturated inception of the Justice League? I don't think so. I think that would have been awesome. They could have come as a twosome and you could have done a story with them. They've rebelled from OR or something like that. They could have done something. So instead of pulling anyone out of the Justice League, I would have put them both in there. Instead of Zack having them talk to Ben or Batman or Bruce Wayne at the end of the movie, why not have them involved for the whole movie? Imagine that, having the Lanterns involved in a Justice League movie. They should be there, Zack, from the very beginning. Now, I understand you were going to do another 2 movies, so you would have introduced them. But still, this sounds like the better idea personally. But again, we need a disclaimer because people, let's say they eat too many pies and it gets to their brain and they don't understand. I love Zack Snyder. I love his DC movies. But just because I love someone and stand them, it doesn't mean I can't criticise some of their decisions. Thank you for listening. Zack Snyder has previously revealed that his original Justice League plan would have introduced Jon Stewart's Green Lantern in a final scene with Batman. That plan was vetoed by Warner Bros. And DC Films. However, in the apparent interest of potential future Green Lantern projects, at a panel at JusticeCon, Snyder shared that his scene would have actually featured two Green Lanterns, Jon Stewart played by Wayne T. Carr and Kilowog. Originally, we were going to have Jon Stewart and Kilowog come to the dock to see Bruce Wayne, Snyder says. That was the original idea. Due to the studio's veto, the Green Lanterns were replaced with Henry Lennox's Martian Manhunter in the final version of the Snyder Cut. It's unclear if Warner Bros. Has any concrete plans to make a Jon Stewart Green Lantern movie, but the subject's objection to the characters, let's say that again, but the studio's objection to the character's inclusion certainly means it's possible the future of the DCEU is still somewhat uncertain, but public sentiment toward the franchise has grown more favourable in recent months. No. The future of the DCEU isn't uncertain. There's a plan. It's happening. There's 5 movies. We've got James Gunn's The Suicide Squad, and we've got another 4 movies in HBO Max projects, including Green Lantern Corps. It's more certain than it's ever been. Kilowog still makes a cameo in Zack Snyder's Justice League, albeit a gruesome one. The film flashes of the post-apocalyptic nightmare future include a shot of a demolished Justice League headquarters. Amongst the rubble, the corpse of Kilowog. You know what? I haven't even noticed that. Jesus Christ. I mean, we're talking about a character as important as Kilowog, Zack. You could have given him more than that. Does he have to be dead? Jesus Christ. Zack just kills anyone, doesn't he? It could be a very long time before DC attempts another live-action Justice League movie. It's not going to be. Andy Muschietti's going to do one. Remember where you heard that first, especially with so many independent films planned for release over the next few years. Perhaps a Jon Stewart-led Green Lantern movie will be one of those fulfilling the promise of Zack Snyder's original Justice League plan. Well, it's all very interesting, and I would have loved to have seen those characters, and it's a shame they were vetoed, but unfortunately the studio didn't want Zack to have them in there. He took them down. They've got their own plans. They didn't want Zack to put them in there. This happens in studios all the time. This is not a new thing. This is not controversial. Are you and I frustrated as fans that we couldn't see them in a movie when the plan was to have them there? Of course. Of course. But unfortunately, we're seeing our kind of point of view, but then you look at their point of view, and maybe as we get more and more live-action Green Lantern, we'll understand why they weren't allowed to be in Zack Snyder's Justice League. But I do agree. It is frustrating and it is disappointing. But we move on. This is an interesting point, actually, as I read this article by Christopher Fiducia from Screen Rant, where he says the Snyderverse ended with a Flashpoint-style reboot, says DCEU artist. Wait, you mean like Andy Muschietti's going to do? But people are criticising it from our side, from the Snyderverse fandom. That's interesting. Anyway, it's always been very interesting how Zack was going to end his arc. So let's have a look at this. The DCEU storyboard artist Jay Oliver claims, I love Jay, Oliver claims the Snyderverse was going to end with a Flashpoint-style reboot, allowing WB to recast the superheroes. Wow. The DCEU artist says that the Snyderverse would have ended in the style of a Flashpoint reboot. Flashpoint was a popular limited comic series written by Geoff Johns that focused on Barry Allen going back in time to save his mother. Wait, you mean Geoff Johns did the original Flashpoint? But you all say he can't write comics. Would you like to revise your bullshit statement? Anyway, Barry's actions led to key events changing in an altered timeline. Altered timelines such as Thomas Wayne becoming Batman and a war erupting between the Amazons and the Atlanteans. After years of waiting, Zack Snyder's Justice League was finally released on HBO Max about a month ago. Warner Bros. Has no plans to continue the Snyderverse, although Snyder clearly had plans for Justice League 2 and Justice League 3. The Justice League sequels would have continued the nightmare timeline after Lois Lane was killed by Darkseid and Superman succumbed to the anti-life equation. The films would have also shown Flash travelling through time to warn Bruce of the coming events. Despite fans clamouring for Warner Bros. To restore the Snyderverse, it doesn't look like anything will come of the movement. However, In a JusticeCon interview with Jay Oliver, the DCEU storyboard artist revealed how the Snyderverse could have possibly ended. Let's say that again. Olivia believes that Snyder had plans to end his film series with a sort of Flashpoint reboot, which would have allowed the franchise to recast some of its key characters. Oliver's full quote can be read below. Is it Jay Oliver or is it Jay Olivia's? Or Olivia? I think it's Jay Olivia. I've never said it like that. It doesn't matter. Fuck it. Anyway, this is what he had to say. Yeah, I mean, I think that was the plan, was that they would do like the 4 or 5 parts, and then we would do a Flashpoint kind of reboot where you can bring in a new cast afterwards. Now, this is kind of interesting because this is like the comic books, isn't it? Where they do one iteration and then they change things, maybe by, you know, a Flashpoint or a rebirth like they're doing at DC right now as well. So that's a good idea. I would have liked the DCEU to implement that. Every time they want to change the cast, they do a rebirth or something, or they do a Flashpoint. It's a good idea. It's a bit like in Doctor Who when he regenerates. I like that idea. And we'll talk more about that when we finish this article. Even though Olivia believes Flashpoint was going to be part of the Snyderverse, Snyder didn't confirm that at the JusticeCon event. However, it would make sense. Snyder had a clear vision for Superman's arc, which would have ended in Justice League 3. Having his films end with the possibility of a Flashpoint reboot would have not only prevented others from continuing with his iteration of characters, but would have allowed Warner Brothers to go in a different direction entirely, like they're doing now. Warner Brothers does have plans to reboot certain characters, but Wonder Woman, Aquaman and The Flash are helping keep the original DCEU storyline alive. Regardless of whether the Snyderverse continues or not, elements of Flashpoint are being incorporated into 2022's The Flash. Director Andres Muschietti has said in the past that the Scarlet Speedster solo movie will be a different version of Flashpoint than you're expecting, and the film is also going to bring the multiverse storyline to the DCEU. Snyder won't be involved with The Flash, but it's possible Warner Brothers could be using some of his ideas if the director did indeed intend to end his story with a Flashpoint-style reboot. Let's talk about this. I think they're using that plan, right? To them, the Snyderverse is finished. We're still fighting. Let's hope we can restore it for HBO Max. Different conversation for a different time. Basically, Snyder was going to say, right, I've done my bit now. Let's do a Flashpoint reboot. We'll leave it with a big flash of white lightning. Credits come up and you do what you want with the next thing. Exactly what the comics do, right? Great idea. Awesome idea. This is why, Warner Brothers, you should have let him finish his arc in the first place. And then he would have left, no damage done, and all this bad feeling between the fandoms wouldn't happen. The original kind of leadership at Warner Brothers got it wrong. They got too nervous too quickly, but it's done. Now what I want to talk about very quickly before I say adios for today is, are they doing this anyway? Yes. This is what this movie is about. They're doing what Zack would have done at the end of his Justice League 3, at the end of his set of movies. They're doing a Flashpoint to start again, to recast certain members of the DC characters, certain members of the Justice League. So will there be any recast because of Flashpoint? Yes. We could have a brand new Batman. We could have lots of different things. You know, I think Ezra Miller's Flash could be recast as well, using Flashpoint. Wouldn't that be interesting? Or using another version of the Flash family in the future. That would be interesting as well. There's a few people who don't like Ezra as the Flash. I like him as the Flash and Barry Allen fine. I don't think I think in terms of youth and age and a few other things, he could, you could have picked someone else, but Zack didn't. He picked him and he's perfectly fine. Do I prefer him to Grant Gustin? No, I don't. Even though I'm not a fan of the Arrowverse anymore, in the first 2 seasons of The Flash, Grant was amazing. Could he be replaced by Grant Gustin? Maybe he could. You're saying, no, he's starring in the damn Flash movie. That would never happen. Hey, keep an open mind in the entertainment industry. Nothing is certain. Nothing is secure. Look at what they're doing in the series, and we've already discussed this. They're bringing Impulse in. I've already said I think Impulse is replacing Grant Gustin's The Flash. Why would that have to happen? Maybe he's going to become the DCEU Flash. Maybe they'll use another Flash character from the Flash family. This is what I'm saying about this movie. There's more questions than answers, which makes it so very exciting. That's it for today. Comment down below. Like, share and subscribe. And I'll be back tomorrow with even more Big Mouth Daily. See you again soon. I nearly said DCU Daily, didn't I? Bye. See you again soon.